Let's talk about the misconceptions of high performance or peak performance. What does that actually mean? Well, in our society, high performance looks like people responding right away, right? To emails, texts, messages, feeling like you have to be on all the time. It looks like pushing your body and working extreme hours, not sleeping. That's what high performance culture is right now. It's this hustle mentality that in order to be successful, you have to be a high performer. But I want to challenge your thought on this, because high performance doesn't have to mean exhaustion. High performance doesn't have to mean sacrificing your sleep or your peace or your joy or your fun or your family or your relationships. It's quite the opposite of that. And athletics is a really great example of the high performing athletes who have been successful but honor rest and recovery as a part of their performance strategy. Tom Brady is a really good example. And actually, I'll give you an example of what really brought this together for me. My background, for those of you who don't know, is sports medicine. I worked as an athletic trainer for 14 years. I have a master's degree in sports psychology. And so I worked with high performing athletes who were very successful at Division I, Division III, wherever they were at, they were successful. And one of the athletes that I worked with decided when he was 16, he wanted to be an Olympic swimmer. I met him when he was a sophomore in college, and he ended up qualifying to try out for the Olympic Dubai team. By that point, as a sophomore, he had already had multiple surgeries. His body was exhausted. He would come in every day and be like, Cheree, I don't know if I can keep doing this, right? He's in the ice bath every day. He was really good at taking care of his body and recovering, but he was also pushing his body to extreme measures. And when he found out that he qualified to try out for the Olympic Dubai team, he went back home for the summertime when he was supposed to be in his off season. So in sports, they have an off season. They're still swimming, they're still shooting hoops, they're still doing stuff. They're not couch potatoes. They're still lifting, but it's at a much lower intensity. And then they move into the preseason. That's where they're coming back to school, to practices. They're learning how to work as a team, who's going to play in what position. They're working on technique and really foundational skills. And then they move into their competition phase. And that is where they're competing against other teams, right? They have the foundational skills, they have the technique, but now it's just maintenance. And at this point, it becomes more about the mental game, controlling the anxiety, the performance anxiety, and keeping their mind in the right place so they can perform at their max. That's peak performance. So it ramps up. And for him, he was supposed to be in a rest season. It was supposed to be an off season, much lower intensity. But he went home back to Dubai, and he ended up lifting and training with the Olympic team. They were in a different season. They were in a peak performance. They were lifting at high intensity. He was supposed to be resting his body. And he came into his senior year and he said, Cheree, something's wrong. I can't sleep. I don't have an appetite. My performance has gone down. I'm lacking motivation. Like, I don't know what's wrong. And after doing some digging and research, I realized that he was in overtraining syndrome, which is the equivalent to burnout. He had pushed his body too hard for too long. And when it came time for Olympic trials, he said, Cheree, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try out. But if I don't make the team this year, I'm done. I can't push my body through this anymore. And he tried out for the team, and he missed the team by like 0.05 of a second. And the worst part of all, it was 2 seconds less than his personal best. That is huge difference when you're talking about endurance sports. A microsecond can make the difference between silver and gold. Just the touch of a hand. Less than his peak performance. All because he thought, if I just push harder, I'll reach my goal. I don't have time to rest. I have to push. And for the 5, 6, 7 years that he had been training, all of that time, all of that energy, all of that effort was gone, all because he missed one rest period. Your body cannot sustain peak performance over a long period of time. That's why we have these business owners who are pushing their first 3 to 5 years in business. Like, I gotta push. Yes, you need to work hard. Yes, you need to take action. Yes, you need to set goals for yourself. But you also need to offset that with the right amount of rest and recovery, because if you don't, eventually something's going to give out. Your body, your mental capacity, your emotions, your relationships, something has to give. And if you don't plan rest, if you don't choose and plan rest and recovery, your body's going to choose it for you in a way you don't like. And that's what we see with business owners. And every single time I drive by a business that's been shut down, I wonder if they just understood this concept of what it actually means to have success without sacrifice, what it means to be a high performer without sacrificing what is important to you. You can have success, you can reach your goals, and you can do it in a way that is really sustainable. But here's the fear. Rest feels lazy. It does. Rest feels lazy to us, because we were taught to get the straight A's, to make the varsity soccer, to make the varsity team. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I loved my school experience. I love being a high achiever, but not at the expense of my peace and my joy and my relationships. And that's the shift that I had to eventually make, of what am I willing to sacrifice and what am I not willing to sacrifice. And yes, I have a goal to get to $1 million, but I am not willing to sacrifice my relationships with my family. I am not willing to sacrifice my peace or my joy or my happiness or my faith in God. Like, I'm not willing to sacrifice that. That's for me personally, but you have to choose and decide, what are you willing to sacrifice and what are you not willing to sacrifice? And high performance doesn't have to look the way that society says it does, the hustle culture says it does. I actually don't think that's high performance. I think that's burnout, because that's eventually what happens. So high performance actually looks like rest and recovery and being still and learning how to access peace and relaxation and joy in your body, and not chasing achievement for worthiness. Because you're worthy for who you are, not for what you do. And for a long time, my identity was wrapped up in the achievements. I still have a goal to make $1 million, but I have peace and joy and fun along the way. I'm no longer waiting to get to a number to make me feel worthy or happy or joyful or peaceful. And this is what's happening. We look at these business owners and we celebrate these people who are knocking it out of the park and they're doing amazing, and that's awesome. But what you don't see behind the scenes is their relationships are falling apart. Their mental health is falling apart. They are miserable. They're not loving their life. And that is my mission, is to put a stop to that. You can love your life. You can have success without sacrificing what is important to you. If this resonated with you, if you're thinking, man, yeah, rest does feel lazy. Rest does feel hard. If you've resonated with that Olympic swimmer and you thought, man, that really sucks, right? All that time and that energy and that effort, everything he did was to make the Olympic team. And he pushed his body too hard for too long. And if you feel like you're in that place, I want to invite you to schedule a complimentary breakthrough session. This is normally a $500 session. It's complimentary to you. Drop a comment below and we will send you the link to get that scheduled and help you identify where you at. Where do you want to go? What's working and what's not working? And what do you want to change? And what are the next steps to get there? This is not a sales call. If you choose you want to move forward in coaching, awesome, we can talk about that, but this is not a high pressure sales call. This is a time to help you get clarity on what your next step is in moving forward. All right. If you liked this, please like, share, comment. That helps get our message out and spread this mission and message to the rest of the world. Until next time.